Welcome to our March in-service safety meeting, Fundamentals of Transporting Passengers with Disabilities, where we'll be talking about that topic as well as a number of different topics. Just a reminder, please do ensure that you're marked as completing this training, as well as compensated. Make sure you sign out the quiz sheet and then complete the quiz sheet and turn it in to Roy or Nicole or Rob. By the end of this section, participants will know and understand how we can prepare for daylight savings time, how Title VI applies to us, the fundamentals of transporting passengers with disabilities, proper mobility device securement, National Nutrition Month, so daylight savings time begins Sunday, March 12th. We turn our clocks forward 1 hour on Saturday, March 11th, or the morning of Sunday, March 12th. This change usually has some impact on productivity and safety, as even the slightest change in one daily routine can result in fatigue, depression, and stress. It's always best to prepare yourself for the change and accentuate the positive. Also, it's a good reminder at this time of year to change the batteries in your home smoke detectors to keep yourselves and your families safe. With daylight savings time, the change also brings around elevated risk. Darkness will last 1 hour later in the morning. There's more drowsy drivers. There's more drowsy drivers on the road that may increase the risk of collisions. Less visibility, and sun glare may coincide with sunrise and sunset during the morning and evening rush hour. So as we look at the video that just played, you can see, as we noted, sun glare can certainly impact, how we identify potential risk and navigating the roads. So we think about what the operator could have done differently to avoid this scenario. So obviously, taking more caution, having the sun visor down, wearing sunglasses. But again, when when your vision is impacted by sun glare, you know that you need to take a little bit more time. And even you can see the driver had crossed across a sidewalk, so we don't know. I mean, there could have been pedestrians that were coming to the left or right of that driver, as well as the potential collision that the driver avoided with the driver on the road. So again, kind of like we always say, whether it be snow or ice or what have you, you always need to drive for conditions, and that includes sun glare. So as we talk about, what do we need to do to stay safe and healthy throughout this transition during daylight savings time? So go to bed early in the days leading up to that time to allow your body time to adjust. Bring your sunglasses. Be alert to changes in other routines for passengers and pedestrians, bicyclists, other motorists, as they may be more drowsy or distracted. So how do we beat daylight savings time fatigue? So still do go to bed at your typical time Saturday night before the clocks change. Do get as much light as possible when you wake up. This is by far the most effective way to jumpstart your change. Your body sets its rhythm in large part by light. Do use every opportunity you get to stand up and move around. Do exercise in the AM. This gets you up and moving, as well as exposing you to light and raising your body temperature. So let's talk about what not to do as we approach daylight savings time. When we think about, when we make that change, whether recognized or not, that there is an impact to us. So during this change, have you ever zoned out during your route? Or do you ever feel low on just overall energy? So you need to think about how much caffeine do you intake daily? It's important not to over-caffeinate. Enjoy your normal morning cup or whatever your usual coffee habit may be, but do not alter your caffeine routine by, for example, chugging a cup or two in the afternoon because you feel kind of a slump coming on. What does your breakfast and lunch food look like? Fruits, vegetables, light and nutritionally dense foods are more likely to give you energy than foods that are laden with sugar and carbohydrates. It's also important to avoid fatty and greasy foods, as they tend to make you feel more sluggish than eating. Do you drink enough water during the day? Lack of adequate hydration can cause you to feel sleepy. Can also lack temporary brain fog. They can also have an adverse effect on our reaction time and our ability to recognize hazards or changing conditions. There are a few other considerations to keep during this time change. Don't take a nap. This is where people fall off the wagon. They're tired, so they take a nap in the middle of the day. But then, when it's time to go to bed, that night or the next night, they're not ready, which can have a bad snowball effect. And don't assume everything is fine if you can make it through Monday and feel fine. Many physical effects of daylight savings time change can last up to 10 days. These can include insomnia, mental fatigue, increased rate of heart and blood pressure issues, and an increased rate of stroke during that time. So now we want to go through an ADA refresher. So Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 states, no person in the United States prevents shall, on the grounds of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. Title VI prevents discrimination by government agencies that receive federal funding, which we do. We're a subrecipient of federal funding. If an agency is found in violation of Title VI, that agency can lose its federal funding. First Transit employees must ensure all contracted services and activities are provided in a non-discriminatory manner. Contracted employees must ensure that all persons receive equal treatment, equal access, equal rights, and equal opportunities, without regard to their race, color, or national origin, low income status, or ability to read, write, or understand English. So, talking about the Americans with Disabilities Act, which was founded in 1990. On July 26, 1990, President George Bush signed the landmark American with Disabilities Act, or the ADA Act. This was the most significant civil rights legislation to be enacted by Congress since the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Prior to 1990, inaccessible public transportation created a major barrier to leading active and productive lives for the 43 million Americans who had disabilities. In many communities, tax-supported transit systems were not accessible for those who used wheelchairs or people with hearing, vision, developmental, or other disabilities. The ADA represents the culmination of years of effort to ensure that people with disabilities have the same basic civil rights that all other Americans have shared. ADA prohibits discrimination in areas of employment and public service, including public transportation and public accommodations against anyone who has a mental or physical disability. The ADA addresses transportation in two ways. Transportation is provided by public entities and systems offered by public entities. Ultimately, the ADA required all public transportation systems to be fully accessible for individuals with disabilities as a result of the mandate that all new vehicles and newly constructed or renovated facilities be readily accessible for all individuals with disabilities, including people who use wheelchairs. Public transportation authorities may not discriminate against people with disabilities in the provision of their services. Section 504 states that no qualified individual with a disability in the United States shall be excluded from, denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any program or activity that either receives federal financial assistance or is conducted by any executive agency. This applies to both fixed route and paratransit. We cannot refuse service due to appearance or involuntary behavior that may offend, annoy, or inconvenience employees or other people. However, we can refuse service if the individual engages in violent, serious disruptive, or illegal conduct, or is a direct threat to the health and safety of others. We must provide origin to destination service for paratransit service. Effective July 13, 2015, the U.S. Department of Transportation and ADA regulations requires every transit agency to implement reasonable modification policies. So what is a reasonable modification? Well, the definition of reasonable is a fair and sensible, not extreme or excessive. The definition of modification is the act or process of changing parts of something. Simply put, a reasonable modification is a slight change in the process of providing service that is fair and sensible, not extreme or excessive. So as part of a reasonable modification, it cannot cause a fundamental alteration of service. It cannot cause a direct threat to health or safety of others. It is not needed by the requester to use the service, and it cannot cause an undue financial or administrative burden on the agency. Under the training section, ADA requires that employees be trained to be proficient with operating vehicles and equipment safely, properly assist and treat passengers in a respectful and courteous way, with appropriate attention to the differences. We must avoid discrimination of persons with disabilities. We must properly transport mobility devices. We must announce stops. We must permit service animals to accompany passengers. We must provide adequate time to board or disembark the bus. We must provide a lift upon request. And we must not prohibit travel with a respirator or portable oxygen tank supply. So let's discuss working with service animals. Service animals must be allowed to accompany persons with disabilities. A service animal can be a dog, snake, bird, miniature horse, or other that is trained to work or perform tasks for an individual with a disability including but not limited to guiding individuals with impaired vision, alerting individuals with impaired hearing to intruders or sounds, providing minimal protection or rescue work, pulling a wheelchair, and fetching dropped items. Documentation is not necessary or required to be transported. Service animals are working animals, not pets. Do not pet, distract, or interact with service animals beyond what is necessary for loading, unloading, and transport. Service animals should not ride the lift for their own safety. The only exceptions are when the passenger states the animal must ride with them, or if the animal is physically unable on their own to use the steps. So an example, a bird or a snake. In each case, however, the animal must be fully under control of the passenger, including a leash or a tether. Service animals are not to be disruptive. If a passenger asks to have the animal lay on the seat next to them and you have the space available, the animal may occupy the seat. Keep in mind that the floor of the service or the vehicle is extremely hot from the heat of the pavement, and this will make the animal pant heavily. Be sensitive to the passenger and their service animal. So let's discuss, why do we secure passengers in wheelchairs? So now to ask as we watch this video, how was the mobility device secured? How was the passenger secured? Could the device have been secured differently? Could the passenger have been secured differently? And what happens to objects that are unsecured in this scenario? So again, I'd ask that you watch this video with those questions in mind. Right, so pretty obvious as we watched that the bus was rear-ended by another vehicle and the passenger was tossed from the seat. So certainly some challenges and some issues with the way the driver secured the wheelchair and the passenger. So I know sometimes that when a driver is securing a passenger, there's a number of distractions where they can hey driver, I got this question or this, you're getting pulled in multiple directions. But when you're securing a passenger in a wheelchair, you need to focus on just completing that task before you move on to anything else. So let's talk about mobility device securement. Because of the weight of both the device and the passenger, it is extremely important that we be sure the mobility device is properly secured. All mobility devices must be secured using a 4-point securement system. All straps must be secured to the main frame of the mobility device. Never secure to a removable part of the device or through the wheels of the device. Do not secure the straps to the wheels of the device either. Straps also should never be crossed, as this will weaken the securement. Attach rear securement straps in the main frame as close to seat level as possible. Locate straps at 30 to 60 degree angles, with a 45-degree angle being the most optimal. Adjust straps using caution not to over-tighten, which may cause damage to the mobility device. Attach front securement straps on the main frame as close to seat level as possible. Test for tightness of the 4-point securement system by trying to move the chair back and forth. This backwards and forwards movement allows for downwards pull on the mobility device by the securement straps. No matter if the passenger or the operator secures the lap restraint, it is the responsibility of the operator to ensure the restraint is properly secured. Violating a passenger's personal space is the greatest risk during the mobility device securement process. Once again, communication is the key to success. The most sensitive aspect of this procedure is the securement of the lap restraint. It is important to inquire as to whether or not the passenger is able to secure the lap restraint on their own before making any attempt to do so for them. If you are aware that the passenger is not able to secure the lap restraint, it is critical that you bring the belt to its fully extended position as you place it around the passenger to avoid contact with sensitive areas. Along with communication, this technique will help you ensure that your intentions are clear. So the 5-step securement process is: place wheelchair in the securement area, place securement belts on wheelchair and adjust, perform shake test and reset wheelchair brakes, place lap shoulder belt on passenger, and throughout the ride make sure you're monitoring the passenger to make sure they are secured and stay secured. In order for the securement process to work, all of the components have to be in good working condition and properly used. The right securement equipment, maintained appropriately and positioned correctly, is critically important to transporting the passenger safely. So as we mentioned before, this is National Nutrition Month. So Hippocrates once said, "Let thy food be thy medicine." So what does that mean? Well, there's a great importance in healthy eating and understanding how the nutrients in various foods have healing properties. National Nutrition Month stresses the importance of a balanced diet and exercise. Things you can do to observe National Nutrition Month. Move your body. Nutrition doesn't end at what we eat. The Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics encourages making exercise an integral part of our lives. Find inspiration. Feeling stale in the kitchen? Pinterest provides an infinite loop of recipes and inspiration to kickstart any nutrition journey. Or pick up a new cookbook. Meet with a dietitian. They can provide you with a detailed meal plan that makes sense for your lifestyle and goals. Many, if not most, health insurance plans cover the cost of dietitian services. Some locally or city, county health departments may offer complimentary services. So, also need to stress the importance of water. We all know drinking water helps in nearly every aspect of wellness. But sometimes that can be throughout the course of the day. It can be a challenge based on what we do. So consider including electrolyte additives to enhance hydration and overall wellness. Also, what we can do is choose food over supplements. Though there are some people who sincerely lack certain vitamins and minerals that can't be achieved through diet alone, most of the good things our bodies need come from food, not store-bought supplements. The best source of all the vitamins and minerals that your body needs comes from whole, fresh, non-processed foods. When you can, opt for color. When in doubt, throw some color on your plate. Bright greens from crunchy vegetables or vibrant reds from tangy fruit will give you a healthy boost. Also suggest packing your lunch. Avoiding typical restaurant or fast food grease may seem obvious. According to the Harvard Health Publishing, even more important than that is the ability to control portions of sizes when you pack your own lunch. Be sure that you're including the following: 1 serving of healthy, lean protein such as skinless poultry, fish, Greek yogurt, or low-fat cottage cheese. 1 serving of complex carbs such as apples, grapes, berries, sweet potatoes, lentils, or whole grains. 2 servings of fresh vegetables such as spinach, broccoli, asparagus, Brussels sprouts, or kale, and 1 serving of a healthy fat such as olive oil, avocado, unsweetened coconut flakes, chia seeds, flaxseed, or hemp hearts. Always shop the perimeter of your grocery store when you do go shopping. Shopping at supermarket grocery stores' outside aisles ensures that you're getting healthy alternatives to processed foods like produce, meat, and dairy. When you move inward in the grocery store, most, if not all, of the products contain unnecessary additives and sugar. Next thing we want to talk into is our drive cam issues the last 14 days. So you can see we continue to have increase in our incomplete stops. That also continues to be our number one issue as far as drivers not coming to a full and complete stop each and every time. You can see that following distance is still an issue, but we have come down in that slightly, and then also we've had an increase in speed violations and drivers unbelted. So the first example we're going to look at is an incomplete stop, and as you're watching this, think about what the driver could have done differently. As you're watching that, you can see that the driver never came to a full and complete stop. And you think about the risk involved as you assess that situation. It's dark, so mitigates the driver's ability to really make a good decision as far as looking left, right, left. He puts themselves, or the passengers at risk. So again, I'll stress it as I have every month. You need to come to a full and complete stop each and every time. And I know when you're driving these routes, sometimes you're going through the same intersection and stop signs, and you think, oh, I go through the stop sign all the time. I never see anybody there. That's the one time when you are going to have somebody go through there. So, again, for your own safety, your passenger's safety, and those around you, make sure that you come to a full and complete stop each and every time at stop lights, stop signs, and intersections. Look at another incomplete stop again. Take a look and see what you would have done differently. Get another situation where the driver did not come to a full and complete stop. You can also see there was a crosswalk there where they didn't allow for, in case there was someone that was like a biker or pedestrian, what have you. And as we move out of winter into springtime, that the chance for that only increases. So drivers should have stopped behind the crosswalk and come to a full and complete stop. And again, we'll reiterate that a full and complete stop is where you have the chance to look left, right, left, and then go. And also, you should rock forward slightly and then rock backwards, and your odometer should read 0. So, your speedometer should read 0 before you even move. Alright, here's an example where the driver failed to stop. Again, really concerning in that that there was no attempt to stop whatsoever in that instance. Again, puts the driver at risk, puts the passengers at risk, and puts those around him at risk. You have to come to a full and complete stop each and every time. So as we look at this video, we talk about getting the big picture. Not sure if you caught it or is able to pick up on the video, but at the previous intersection, after the light turned green, the other vehicle began to go, and then to the right, there was a pedestrian that was crossing in the dark. So it's really important, throughout the course of your day, you're scanning left, right, left, and you're identifying different risks that you need to be concerned about. So again, and this is only going to get increase as we move into springtime with pedestrians and bicyclists and other vehicles. So again, you always want to scan and get a big picture. The other thing I would highlight as well with this video, and again, I'm not sure if you were able to pick it up, but the driver that was in front of our bus, went through a red light as he was as it went from yellow to red, they made a left turn on a red. So you always got to be looking out for unpredictable and impulsive people that might not make good decisions around us. Also, outside of our base, we've got a new flag system that we've implemented. So if you see a red flag, that means adverse winter weather, ice cleats are required, or there's thunderstorms or tornadoes possible that particular day. So again, to reiterate, winter's not over yet. We're going to still have freeze and melt and all that ongoing. So if you still need ice cleats, please do stop by dispatch and pick up a pair. If you see a blue flag, we're forecasted rain or heavy rain that day. So again, you got to drive for conditions. So sometimes you might not see standing water underneath a bridge or in some low-lying areas. So kind of just raise awareness about that potential. Yellow flag means a heat advisory or warning for that particular day. So want to make sure that you're eating properly and make sure that you're staying well hydrated. And if you see a green flag, that means good weather, clear, no concerns that particular day. So in summary, daylight savings time isn't just about changing the clock. There are many risks associated with the change, so prepare early. Public transportation systems are required to be fully accessible, and operators are required to complete proper training. Mobility device securement is an important part of safely transporting passengers with disabilities. And celebrate National Nutrition Month by making healthier food choices to fuel your body. Again, I would thank you for participating and reviewing the material that we've covered today. All that you do, especially as we're kind of, as I said, winding down the winter months to get through these challenging winter times, not only by your attendants, but by driving safely, taking care of yourself and your passengers. So we don't say it enough as much as we'd like to, but we certainly appreciate everything that you do every day. So again, just a reminder, please make sure you're signed out for that you received a safety quiz, and then complete the safety quiz and turn it back into dispatch or to Roy, Nicole, or Rob. Thanks, and be safe.